And hello, everyone, and welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. Happy Friday, happy 4th of July weekend. How exciting is that? I am your host, Coach Helix. With me, my wonderful co host,
Steven is here.
Steven the Medium is here. So you get Steelix for the next hour. And Steven, talking about Steelix, we gotta talk about our third episode that came out last night.
Yes.
So you want to tell people about it because it was all about you. So take the lead on it.
well, you know what I was just thinking though, that when I'm introduced, it's in Stephen the Medium's here, but really, I'm a medium. Of course, I'm a medium. I love what I do, but I'm also an attorney. I think I should get like a name, one word, like a medium, like I can combine like Steelix, so that everyone knows that. Oh, Stephen's a medium and an attorney. How cool would that be?
Maybe that's what I'll say from now on. Stephen, my husband, the medium and the attorney, or the attorney and the medium.
Or you can say like maternity or medium. So it's just one word, and you're just mixing like Steelix.
Maternity doesn't sound too good, Steven. Sounds like you're in the maternity ward. No.
I don't know. Based on the way I've been eating, I think I need maternity pants. Just saying. That would be very, very nice. But getting back to what you just brought up, Steelix, the series, the third episode dropped last night at 8 o'clock. And if you haven't followed any of the shows, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube. You don't even have to be on social media. Just go to YouTube, type in Stephen the Medium, and you will be able to see the 3 episodes. Last night's episode was this amazing birthday boy and what happened in New York, but there's also a reading on there, so it's fantastic. And Michelle, our producer, our editor, whatever else she's got titles for, because she's incredible. She does everything to have us present this episode, or all the episodes.
She makes us look really good, really good. But I would say that what was that, Stephen?
No, I didn't say anything.
I saw. Oh, okay. No. But I was gonna say that our Steelix is all about bringing laughter, bringing hope, bringing inspiration, and fun to all of you. It's really our story. It's about what happens with Elix, Coach Elix, what happens with Steven, and it's really all about our everyday fun and crazy adventures. And honestly, nothing is scripted. People have commented that, oh my God, you guys, that could not be real. I give the example always of you asking me about, you don't know the difference between a bread knife and a regular knife. And I tell people, no, that's very real. That's exactly what Steven is. There's nothing made up. What you see, it's what you get. And I think that's what makes the show so exciting, isn't it?
Well, you want to hear what you see is what you get. You probably didn't hear me because I maybe about 10 I started banging 2 nails into the wall upstairs in my office, in my bathroom, because I bought this mirror. And I didn't put it up because this office up here has to be painted. But, we just did most of the house, but my office upstairs in the in-law apartment is last to get done. But I thought, you know what? They can just take it down when they paint, because the mirror's not up and it's a really pretty mirror. So I got it. I went to put it up, and I was thinking, I looked at the back to see how you connect it to the nails, to the wall, and I said, this is the screwiest mirror I have ever seen, because I wanted to do it vertically, and I couldn't because of the way the little backings were, that they were sideways. So I turned it horizontally, and I'm like, I'm not really thrilled about horizontally, but it's a good sized mirror, so it still looked nice. And then it was sort of like the little backings were tilted sort of on an angle. I'm like, how do you put this on? This is ridiculous. And then I realized that the little backings just turned. So you just needed to turn them any which way, and then I put it up
Yeah. And I know nothing about this, honestly. I'm busy all day with calls, so I only hear the boom 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 and thinking to myself, God only knows what he's doing, but I'm actually really afraid to go up there, and this is the first time I hear the story.
I
Oh
just did it.
God.
No, I literally just did it 10 minutes before the show started. You left the nails and the hammer up here, so I'm like, oh, they're up here, so let me just do it. And it actually looks really nice. It's really even. It's above the vanity, and it's like a silver mirror. It's really pretty. It looks very nice. Once I figured out that, all you needed to do was move the backings to make them the way I wanted them. So.
Oh God, help me. If anyone wants to take him for the holiday weekend, my number, you can call me. I'll make the arrangements. But talking about Steven, yesterday he also calls me frantic. And when I say frantic, I'm talking frantic. Like you would think there is, a life and death situation. In his world, it really was a life and death situation.
Yes.
Happening, but I'm busy. I'm visiting clients. I don't really have time for craziness, but I pick up the phone because I know, if he's calling me, he knows I'm with a client. So if he's calling me, it's got to be something urgent. So he is in hysterics because we have little birds in nest all around the house, but we're talking about the ones in the front porch. And he went to water the pod or whatever, the planter, and they flew away, and now he thinks that they're all dead because they flew away. I'm like, Steven, they've been trying to fly for the last few days. That's what they do. That's Mother Nature. That's what happens. I mean, do you not? Because in Steven's world, it really it sounds like if it wasn't for Steven, the birds would not survive. If it wasn't for Steven, Animal Kingdom wouldn't be here. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they're gonna be fine. That's what they do. They learn how to fly, and they're gone, and they'll be back next year to have babies.
Oh, that's like finding out there's no Santa Claus. What do you mean Animal Kingdom would survive without me? Of course they can't.
Oh my God. Well, that's
no. No, I have to protect them. I have to make sure there's food in the other side of the house so they can get and feed their babies. And then so yesterday after that happened, I was outside for like an hour just trying to find them,
looking for them. Okay, and again, if you think this is an exaggeration, I'm telling you, this is not an exaggeration. This is real. And if I was home, I know I would have a video to prove all of this. But anyway, Steven, I also I wanted to talk. Well, I want to talk about what the show is, but let me first ask you, what are we up to? Anything this weekend? Anything in particular? It's the first weekend. Cape Cod is crazy busy. The tourists are back in town. I just saw a report from the police that traffic, it's really, really crazy, and everyone decided to come in early to miss the traffic, and clearly that didn't work out too well for most people. So what are we up to this weekend?
The funny thing is that this is not new. Like, everybody knows, especially when it's set up this way, that the 4th of July is Monday. Everybody knows people are coming. 4th of July week is a big week, vacation week. Even this morning it was all over the news. If you want to avoid traffic, either leave like 5 in the morning or 11 at night. It's not like it's a surprise. Oh my God, it's traffic. I don't understand it. But we have I think every day is exciting with us. But yes, because we have your cousin
Yes.
Eva Milagros is coming from Puerto Rico to spend some time up here with us, and her son in New Hampshire. She just got a new job, so congratulations.
Yay,
she so deserves it. So we'll see what happens on this 4th of July weekend.
So it's going to be super exciting. And my mom, my 96-year-old mom, soon to be 97, who just got back from Atlanta, is back. And so she's getting ready, waiting for some place that we are going to take her out. So.
Oh, she's waiting for later to go to dinner. Oh, but we're gonna go to a powwow tomorrow.
Yes, and that's exciting.
Yeah,
I don't even know what a powwow is, but I'm excited to go and
I am
explore
too.
that.
With the Native Americans and that history, I think for a medium as I am, it will be an amazing experience.
It will be. So I'm
Yes,
excited about that. But I'm also really excited about today's show. Today's show is really about finding personal power in the face of the latest Supreme Court ruling. And just again, let me make it very clear: the show is not about talking about your political, your religious views. It really is not about that. This show came about because I really felt compelled to really explore the subject. Our guest last week, Steve Katsurini, we talked last week. We talked about LGBT celebrating Pride, and one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is, you know, when when it when it's related to important matters, we need to show up. And of course, this topic is, for many, it's taboo. It's things that we shouldn't be talking about. And I thought, you know what? I think it's important that we talk about, and I think it's important that we talk about from the perspective of really understanding somebody else's world. So that's what we're going to talk about. And so if you want to join the conversation, you can absolutely call 508 222 1320. But if you want to, yell at me or complain or do something, don't call, because this show is not about that. So,
people don't do
Stephen,
that for you. That you're just too darling.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't call, but you email me or you say, don't have anything nice to say, just don't do it, because I'm not going to respond. But anyways, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about finding personal power in the face of the latest Supreme Court ruling. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix. With me, my wonderful co-host, husband, attorney.
Medium Stephen Frederick is in the house.
Steven is in the house. So you got Steelix for the next hour. And today, our show is really a thought-provoking show, something that I wanted to do because I feel compelled to talk about this, is finding your personal power in the face of the recent Supreme Court ruling. And, I'm all about finding your personal power, finding your personal power in the face of the circumstances, finding your personal power in the face of, whatever it is you're dealing with. So in this context, I wanted to just really come out and be out front because I wanted to really talk about how do we find our personal power in the face of these recent ruling. Now, Roe v. Wade was a landmark legal decision issued on January 22nd, 1973, that held that a woman's right to an abortion was implicit in the right to privacy protected by the 14th Amendment. On June 24th, 2022, the Supreme Court officially reversed that ruling. That's a significant change that impacts the lives of many Americans. And I will tell you personally, I have felt the impact, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling confused, if you feel anger at times because of these recent ruling, you are not alone. And today's show really is about, learning to discuss what does that mean, to many of us. And Stephen and I have we're not women, but we do have the perspective of, the being gay and the implications that ruling has on our community. And we'll talk about that later on. But ultimately, today, it's really about sharing where you can find your personal power and compassion when you're faced with, such a major life-altering decision. Stephen, what is, what are your thoughts? Like, I just said, for me personally, I am feeling overwhelmed. There are times where I feel confused, I feel scared, I feel anxious, upset. How are you coping with this recent ruling?
Well, I think every way that you just listed, but I think for me, one of the ways that I that works for me is just remembering that the majority of Americans are in favor of abortion and abortion rules, and that sort of majority of people even my thought of that just helps me. It's just this is a situation that I think the worst thing you can do is, I mean, right now you can't change the decision right now, but like,
correct.
I mean, there's things we can do going forward, but right now you can't. And I think, just sort of being isolated is the thing that you can't do. You just have to keep in mind of the other like-minded people, and there's a lot of them, and the majority of them, and that's sort of what I do.
Yes, and of course you have the perspective of being an attorney, which I don't have, but I've learned to understand and view things from that perspective because you've taught me. Now, if you guys are just tuning in and listening to our show today, is about finding the power in the face of the recent ruling of the Supreme Court regarding Roe v. Wade. Now, first and foremost, just to create some context, the show is really what this show is not about. It's not a discussion about your political, religious, or other personal beliefs. That's not, I'm not an expert. I'm not a political expert. I am not a religious, figure. So I'm not here to have that discussion. What the show is about is really, again, is about how do we find, or how do I help you find your own personal power. Now, for me, again, I'm not a woman, but I can tell you that I've had experiences. I've had people very, very close to me who have had to have an abortion, and I know firsthand how difficult that experience was for them. The show is really about listening to connect to those stories, about listening to have compassion, to really understand that, that our story may be very different from somebody else's story. And that really leads to understanding the difference between a belief versus a right. I personally have my own beliefs, and by the way, I'm adopted. So if my mother, had chosen to have an abortion, I wouldn't be here. So I understand that. I respect that belief. I am not somebody that think that an abortion is something that it should not be respected or taken seriously, or it should be willy nilly. But I also believe that because I don't know somebody else's story, that nobody has the right to take that personal right away from someone else. And again, deciding for someone else what they should or should not do shouldn't be up to anyone, not a court, not anyone but that person who is dealing with that circumstance. That's my personal belief, and that's what this conversation really is about. Now, and I share this with you, Stephen. When I was in college, I came here to go to Emerson College from Puerto Rico. I was 17 years old, and I became very close friend with, again, gay guys. We are drawn to, to women, and we hang out and we become best friends. And one of my best friends from college, she had a situation where she was raped, and she was terrified, by the way, terrified. Because she found out that she was pregnant and she had no idea what to do. She was terrified to tell anyone. She, again, at 17 years old, how do you even know, or 18, I can't remember exactly how old she was. I know I was 17, but we don't necessarily have the experience or the wisdom to know what we could do, who we should go to, or seeking advice. So she came to me and she says, this is something I don't know what to do. She ended up having an abortion. And I will tell you, I know firsthand that was perhaps one of the hardest things that she had to deal with. And I also know firsthand that she went through a very, very a long process of recovery, both physical and mental recovery. And that's what I mean. Perhaps if I hadn't had that personal experience with my friend at the age of 17, I would not have the level of compassion that I feel today. I would not have the level of understanding that I have today, for any women who is facing those circumstances. But I did. And that's where I come from. And again, if you believe in some other right, I'm okay with that. I'm not here to argue with your beliefs. I am totally okay with that, and I respect that. I may not like it, I may not agree with you, but I just find it very hard to understand how somebody, a court for that matter, can have such power to take that basic right away from someone. It's really, the fact that we're going back to the 1950s, it feels somewhat outrageous. Stephen, what are you hearing here?
Well, just listening to everything you're saying, and as you mentioned, as an attorney, there's many levels of my perspective on this. There was still a big part of me, even knowing what the Supreme Court was made up of. There was still a part of me that thought, even with that leak several months ago, that this can't possibly happen. It just can't. And I'm sure I'm not alone with that, because I knew prior to the decision coming out last Friday that this would be the first ever, like completely first ever complete reversal of a constitutional right. It's never happened before. So
Yes.
I just really didn't think that was going to be something that would be in my face, that I would hear about. But on a personal, professional level, what I do as an attorney, I've worked in juvenile court since I got out of graduated law school. Since I think it was the year after. I mean, I was sworn in 2002. I think I started juvenile court in 2003, and I'm still there. And I have heard and seen people's emotions, their stories of countless young women, in who I represent is the indigent population, and that really is the population that's going to be affected most by this, of young women, whether it's being raped, whether it's not being raped, having abortions and making that choice and knowing it's the right choice for them. It's just mind blowing.
Yes. And, Steven, we do need to take a break, but you opened up, something I want to talk about at the next segment, that there's many studies, by the way, and there are certain public health implications of overturning Roe v. Wade. And mostly those implications, like you said, affect the indigent community. So, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about those public health implications. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful husband, attorney, and medium.
Stephen.
Steven is in the house. So,
Yeah.
so you get Steelix for the next hour, and you can't say I don't listen, Steven. I'm just
No,
saying.
clearly you do.
And correct immediately. But today we have a wonderful show, thought-provoking show, because today is about finding your personal power in the face of the recent ruling, Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. And Stephen and I have been having a conversation about the impact of that ruling. And in particular, I wanted to talk about the public health implications of overturning Roe v. Wade. What comes to mind first and foremost, Stephen, is that, this ruling opens the door for some very strict, aggressive outlaws of abortions across the country. So what does that mean? That means that in many states, abortion under any circumstances, it will become illegal. So if you're raped by your father, you are going to be forced to have an abortion. If you're raped by some stranger,
No, you're not forced to have an abortion.
you're not.
No, you said you would be forced to have an abortion. You can't. You're forced to have the baby.
Well, excuse me. Thank you for correcting that. You're forced to have the baby. No, thank you, Stephen. If you're raped by some stranger, you are forced to go through that pregnancy. And again, the examples go on and on and on, where there will be absolutely no exceptions. And I think that's outrageous, because that has a significant impact. The truth is, let's begin with the social economic impact, the well-being of these individuals. That, number one, they don't have the financial well-being to seek help elsewhere. I know recently there's a whole lot of postings about if you need to travel to a different state, you're welcome to do that. You're going to get plenty of support. But you know what, Stephen? The reality is there may be many of women that cannot even afford to travel anywhere. So they're going to be forced to then have a baby. And that then creates a domino effect, because we're talking emotional health, sadness versus depression. Having an abortion, it's very, very sad, but being forced to have a baby often creates the opening for depression, because again, you are imagine what it would look like. I mean, it's unimaginable to me, when I think of that, having somebody who is raped by a stepfather and then she's forced to have that baby. I mean, that's impossible to even imagine, but that's the reality that we face today. That leads to physical health. Often many of these women end up dead, and they end up dead because they can't cope with the situation, or they end up dead because they'll seek some other way to have an abortion that's not safe. And again, just like you said, Stephen, the indigent community is ultimately the one that has perhaps the biggest impact on this ruling. What do you from the attorney perspective, Stephen? What do you see that many people may not see?
Well, I think that there's, and this is my prediction, and I think I'm probably right, that there's going to be some states that are going to do whatever they can, including trying to or attempting to press charges for women who do attempt to leave a state, to go to another state that abortion is legal somehow, some way. And you may step back and think, how is that going to happen? Like, how can they do that? I see it coming. That's exactly what's going to happen. And as an attorney also, Felix, I when I heard the decision of Roe versus Wade, and it's the way attorneys' minds and how we go to school and how it's set up, is that you also look at not just the decision, but where else can that decision affect, as you're talking about, and why I love you're doing the theme on this show. But I also I just read an article about the in vitro procedure
Yes.
also, and
Yes.
and how that is going to be affected. And for maybe someone who is in support, that have, maybe even a young person who is, thank God Roe versus Wade was changed and overturned, and that's great. And then they don't realize that maybe their best friend's sister, who her and her husband are dying to have a child, and and they can't get pregnant, and they want to go through in vitro, or maybe already started that, ultimately, possibly, and probably in many states, are going to be forced to use those embryos that have abnormalities, or that are usually normally discarded. That's going to be a crime, because at that point they're considered alive once they're
Yes.
fertilized. There's just so much to this that I think people are not thinking about.
Yes, absolutely, and that's one of the many economic impacts that this ruling, can have on all of us, all Americans. By the way, other economic impacts: the decreased workforce participation. Parental status has an impact on women's labor force participation. So that's one potential impact. Decreased earning potential. Mothers working full time year round outside the home are paid 75 cents for every dollar paid to fathers. Negative impact on children's financial well being. Children born as a result of a woman being denied an abortion procedure are more likely to live below the federal poverty level than children born from a subsequent pregnancy. Negative impact on equality, and that's something that I want to talk about when we come back from the break. But access to abortion can impact gender, racial equality by enabling women to choose when to become parents, and therefore have greater control over their education, career, their economic security. And just like you said, Stephen, law enforcement could use, period tracking apps to monitor abortions, and the possible destruction of those embryos that could certainly have an impact on those who are having difficulty or are counting on in vitro fertilization. So again, this is more than just another ruling. But the other thing, Stephen, that comes to mind is that this is really directly related to the 14th Amendment, right? So what I'm immediately thinking, so what does that mean for other rights protected by the 14th Amendment?
Are you asking me?
Yes. Well, you're the attorney, because I don't know the answer, but I'm curious to hear your perspective. What does the
it
ruling
opens. I mean,
Yeah.
number one, just the setup of the court being 6-3 conservative, right there, just set you up. I mean, as you have already seen, it set us up for the overturn of Roe versus Wade, and it's not stopping. We've already seen Second Amendment rights, that no more, you have the right to carry handguns outside the home for self defense, whatever the case may be. EPA is being rolled back. Separation of church and state, where we now Catholic schools can get state funding, and it just is going on and on. And when it comes to people's personal rights, it just opens the door. And when you have anybody who knows me knows that this is going to come out of my mouth. This idiot Clarence Thomas, who's got really the balls to actually be asking we need to revisit, say, gay marriage, and it was just 55 years ago that the interracial marriage, or the ability to have an interracial marriage, was just struck down. So it's so close to what just happened with Roe versus Wade's been in place, and just a couple of years prior to that, you have the Loving case that just like that changes everything for interracial marriage. And if you don't know, he's married to a white woman. So, let's just change that too, and see how he is with his marriage ending, because it's not legal anymore. I can go on, and I get very heated with this, but it's just crazy. And another piece is, what is the effect on the guys? So there's nothing, right?
No.
The women can have they can just be slammed with this. The guys, I mean, women don't get pregnant by themselves. The guys, no, nothing, zero,
Yeah.
nothing. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, we're about to take a break, Stephen, but when we come back, I want to piggyback on what you said, because many, us included in the LGBTQ community, have expressed very, very serious concerns about what this could mean for the future of gay marriage. And it's very, very scary. So let's take a break, and when we come back, you and I can tackle that conversation. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful husband, attorney in medium,
Stephen Frederick is here.
Stephen Frederick, and you got Steelix for the remaining of the hour. We're talking about how to find your personal power in the face of the recent Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. And Stephen and I have been having a very powerful, thought-provoking discussion. And before the break, Stephen, we talked about how many in the LGBTQ community are very concerned about this ruling and the implications that this could potentially have on the future of gay marriage. What does that look like, Stephen, for us?
It just looks like I am very concerned. That's what it looks like. I mean, there's definitely differences when it comes to how and why Roe versus Wade was overturned, but just based on, again, the makeup of this court, and all the court needs is to accept or take. And I think I read last night, I was kind of half asleep, but I think I read there was also something that's being taken up on gay rights, LGBTQ rights, and I can't remember. I probably shouldn't even speak about it because I was half asleep, and I think it was about businesses. I don't remember, but it's very it's very concerning because we've been on the other side of this before. Any states, and Massachusetts being in 2004 being the first state to have gay marriage or being legal, right?
Yes.
And we saw all of that, and we went through all those steps that straight people just take for granted, because even with the state, we still, you and I, for how many years, had to file state and federal
Separately.
taxes separately, right? I mean, because we couldn't
Yes.
do federal, and if something happened to you, I would not get all your benefits, and we still just had we didn't get any federal benefits because until it was changed on the federal level. So I think it really comes down to making sure that you're just aware of who you're voting for, what they stand for, and get to court in November. That is really the only safe bet that we've got.
Yeah. And so when I talked about listening to connect, these are the stories that you want to really listen for and connect to our world, connect to somebody else's world. I mean, we speak, we're talking about the implications of gay marriage because that's something that it's very, very real. It's very, very possible. And we are very concerned. It's a very, very scary time. So when we're having a discussion about where this is going, that's before the judgment, before the evaluation, before you're trying to assert that we're upset or we're being dramatic. There's a real reason why we're concerned and we are upset, and there's nothing dramatic about our position. So, with that said, Stephen, I want to end the show. I want to leave our listeners, many people, whether they're listening to the show, they listen to us on social media, they really have expressed how afraid and confused they feel right now. So I want to really provide people with some inspiration, some tools that can help them find their personal power when they're feeling helpless. So I want you to help me along as we go through some of the ones that I came up with, and if there's anything else that you come up with, please put it in. But the first one, I couldn't. What do you think is the first one, Stephen? Because you're not looking at my outline.
I don't know.
You talked about it just now. It's you got to vote. You have to vote because if you don't vote, we're gonna continue to be in the same position. You got to really understand who's for what, and if you're not in the space, if you're not gay, or if you're not a woman who have had an abortion, that doesn't get you off the hook. You got to still, your job is to really get our world to really get to understand where we are and why we are concerned. So you can help us, with your vote. I know that right now there's many people who are, their number one concern is what they're paying for gas. Yeah, you know what? I'm concerned about that too. But I'm more concerned about the future of my marriage with you. And I want others to get that concern. That concern is very, very real for you and for myself. The gas is going to come down at some point, but overturning this court ruling can have a lifetime effect on many of us as Americans. Anything else you want to add to that, Stephen?
No, that sums it up.
The other thing, and I said this before, and I thank Steve Katsourenis for this, is you have to show up. Staying in the sidelines, it's no longer acceptable. Yes, I know, abortion, the subject, it's taboo. We've been conditioned that we don't talk about it. We keep it quiet. Same thing with being gay. You don't talk about it. You keep it quiet. How often do we hear somebody says, "Oh, that's their business"? No. You have to show up. We got to talk about who we are. We don't have to pretend anything. When I introduce myself, somebody else, Stephen, to somebody else, he's my husband. He's not my partner. He's not my friend. That may be how you want me to introduce him to you because that makes you comfortable. No, I don't care about you feeling comfortable. He's my husband, and I want you to really get that. That's my world. And so I'm inviting you to show up. If you've had a personal experience, if you've, whether yourself personally, if you know somebody who has dealt with, having to deal with this difficult decision of, having to have an abortion, you got to talk about it. You got to make it real for those many people out there who are just sitting in the silence saying, "Oh no, no, that cannot be because." You know, our God tells us otherwise. The Bible says otherwise. You have to show up. You cannot longer stay in the sidelines. And I feel very strongly about that. Stephen, anything you want to add? Yes.
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago that happened. I was going into juvenile court, and an attorney was sitting there who I've known for a long time and I very much like. And he just said that, I follow you with the whole mediumship, and we're in the lobby. Like, it's where everyone comes through the metal detector, so there's a lot of activity going on. And he said, you do it with your friend. I just stopped him and said, he's not my friend, he's my husband. And oh no, I know. And then it went to no, I'm with you, like a fist pump. And I'm thinking, I don't need your fist pump. I don't need your approval for that. I mean, if it was me and my wife doing that, would you do the same thing? But again, he comes from like not a bad place. I mean, I really like him, and I've known him for a long time, and he's a great guy. It's just that, as what Steve said, you have to correct that. You have to show up. You have to make sure people are reminded of that there's no hiding, there's no shame. It's who we are, right?
Absolutely. The next one is practice acts of kindness. By the way, listening to connect to somebody else's world, it's literally an act of kindness. Don't come from judgment, don't come from evaluation. I recently just read this quote, this really wonderful quote that says, "Do everything with a good heart and expect nothing in return, and you will never be disappointed." There's no truer words than that. No truer words than that. Anything else, Stephen, you want to add to that?
No, that's good.
Take a break. If this is really having a significant impact on your well-being, take a break. Avoid the news. Get off social media. Get out, take a walk, enjoy nature. Stephen and I can tell you, Stephen, how did we get into listening to Christmas music year-round?
Because we were just so fed up with listening to the news and what was going on.
Yes, and we felt that listening to the news was so harmful to our health that
it was toxic.
It was so toxic that we stopped listening, and instead we chose to listen to Christmas music, and Christmas music made us happy, and we still listen to Christmas music every day today. So,
it's not that we just turned our heads and don't know what's going on, but you just are at a place that again, anything you can do just to help your health, help your mind, help your soul.
Yes, and talking about helping your health, your mind, and your soul, practice mindfulness. This can help make a difference on how you think, how you react in stressful situations. And Stephen, you practice mindfulness all the time. What is one thing that people could do to be present?
Well, I love mindfulness, and most meditations really are mindfulness. I mean, there's a lot of different types, but I think even if you don't want to meditate, and you just get, a lot of people get intimidated thinking it's going to take a long time. Just again, during one part of your day, just stop yourself, almost like you said, take a break, and just take a couple of deep breaths in, and just remind yourself, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Yes, I'm not alone. Not alone. I also think for me personally, one of the things that gets me really present is to practice gratitude. And sometimes all that is just saying thank you. Thank you to the universe for everything that we have. Everything. Even when we don't have what we want, there's still plenty that we have. So practice, gratitude. That gets me present and gets me into a space of practicing also mindfulness. And then the last thing that I would invite you guys to do is, create a circle of courage. Maintain the social connections and connect with the people who are positive and who lift you up. That makes a big difference. And again, Stephen and I, we do a whole lot of practice in that subject. Our circle of courage is people who make us better, people who lift us up. If somebody comes into our circle and we perceive that they have this negative energy, we don't stop loving them, by the way, but we create a space. We create a boundary so that energy doesn't get in our own personal space. Anything you want to add to that, Stephen?
I don't keep loving them.
Well, that may be true. Oh God, Stephen, can we please keep it positive? He's not too far from the truth, but I balance. That's why we balance each other.
Hey, listen, you also said part of Steelix and part of what we do is also just bring in humor. So that's
true.
Believe me, and you know this, that is absolutely something that we need more of, in just continuous humor.
Absolutely. So I hope you guys found a lot of value from today's show. I know it was very therapeutic for myself. I hope for you too, Stephen,
yes,
to talk about it and bring this subject to light. And again, I was speaking from the heart. This is my personal belief system. And if yours is different, that's okay. Okay? Having said that, Stephen, where can people find you?
Stephen the Medium. So make sure you go to my Stephen the Medium YouTube channel. Check out Steelix the series. You got to check it out. And you can find me anywhere on social media under Stephen the Medium. And if you want to make an appointment, whether it's a reading, whether it's a whisper in a note, just go check Stephen the Medium. And before you know it, you'll be in front of me either via Zoom or hopefully soon in person.
Check it out and share it. Like it, share it, comment, so that others can get to, we can share what our light with others. So yes. Thank you guys, for being with us, for sharing your time last hour with us so generously. And I wish everyone a wonderful holiday. Happy July 4th holiday. And we'll be back next week. See you.
Bye-bye.